3:30 through to 4:30 or 5 p.m. if necessary. In the meantime, shall somebody call Professor Makgoba to take the witness stand, please? Yeah. Tell me. Why is it so? Do you know? Was he told it is at 9? Yes, he was. He was told. That will be 9:30. Well, one of the state attending will call him and see where he is. Advocate Hutamo, your witness is not here. Would you put the mic on and come on record?
I was just saying that, like, I've spoken to my attorney. He's making arrangements to see if he can locate him. Like, he just went out. Like, if you can just be given a moment.
I am aware that your next witness is here. But it may well be highly undesirable to break the cross-examination at this point, and yet it's also important to preserve time. Is there any indication when is a witness expected to be here?
I made to understand that, like, he's coming through into the room.
As we're speaking now. To all concerned, I just want to make the point again. I would like to start on time at 9:30 on every single day. We have a lot to go through, and we have to be quite dedicated about that. Professor, good morning. And I have to repeat the oath that the further evidence that you will give today will be the truth and nothing but the truth. Please do raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Before I turn you over to the next council to ask questions, it is absolutely important for us to remember that today is the World Mental Health Day. It's quite an important day around the world to acknowledge and recognize, firstly, the humanity of people who are in need of mental care, health care, on account of their mental state. And the world round on this day recognizes that and remind all of us of the importance of looking after them in a way that restores their human dignity. So as we go through our proceedings today, let's keep that in mind, because in the end, a process like this is far more important than simply what compensation will flow from this. It's what lessons we might derive from it. And I thought it's just appropriate that we remind ourselves that not only us, but the whole world is alive to the importance of the protection, advancement of rights of people who may have disabilities that may derive from the state of, or from their mental state. Enough said about that, but I thought it is important to note and to mark that. We're going to go back to the process of cross-examination. Advocate Hasim, were you done with your cross-examination yesterday?
Yes, I was, Justice Muslim.
You were done. Thank you very much. And that immediately moves me to Advocate Groenewald. It's your turn to cross-examine.
Thank you very much, Justice. Professor, thank you. As you heard, my name is Dirk Groenewald. I'm representing 3 of the families who have lost loved ones at the Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. As a starting point, I would just like to thank you on behalf of the families for the work that you've conducted and for the report that you've compiled. I think that you have gave the families much hope in this process to clarify some issues and to give them some much needed information. That being said, Professor, do you have your report in front of you? You have a bundle.
I know the report.
Okay. Then it's good. I wanted to take you to chapter 16 of the report. That's pages 49. Now that chapter you deal with violations of Acts, Constitution, the NHA and the MHCA. On 52 of the report, you make the following summary. The expert panel, the OHSC inspectors, the Ombudsman and the MSC found several contraventions of the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, the NHA, the NHAA, and certain sections of the Mental Health Act, contrary to fiduciary responsibilities. And then you also say that the accountabilities and responsibilities vested in all these acts and codes must be followed. Now, in fact, you also listed 4, if I'm not incorrect, 4 international treaties that was also violated. Is that correct?
I didn't list treaties. I said that we were signatories to the treaties.
Yes. I just need to clarify.
Yeah,
My purpose is solely to get clarity on certain issues.
that's correct.
I'm not here to trap you or to anything like that. But am I correct, sir, that your report confirmed that a number of human rights violations occurred?
I can confirm that.
Yes.
I can more than confirm that.
You can more than confirm that.
Shall we have that interpreted?
Thank you, Chair. Ubokukhulunywa la ukuthi umeli ke ube embuza ke imibuzo ukuthi uqala ngokuthi yena ke umele imindeni emithathu yalabo ke abaye balahlekelwa impilo zabo lapha eKhalinen. Futhi ke ubonga usihlalo ubonga uprofessor ngalombiko ngoba ucacise izindaba eziningi. Manje ke uthi ke laphana kuyimiqulu yakhe lapha kusahluko 16 ekhasini u49 kulapho ke kukhulunywa khona ngokuxhashazwa kwamalungelo kanye nemithetho sisekelo. Kanti ke ubebuza ke uprofessor ukuthi ingaba ke kuloyo mbiko nakulawo makhasi akhulume ngawo ukuthi ngabe ke kuye kwatholakala yini ukuxhashazwa yini kwamalungelo oluntu. Kanti ke uprofessor uyavuma ukuthi yebo kunjalo siye sakudalula lokho ngophenyo lethu.
Thank you. Professor, you actually go further in the report and you state there that poor planning and implementation, including the methods and degree of consultation, access to information, transportation, general treatment, etc., of both the persons being moved from LE as well as the family members resulted in egregious violations of the right of persons to be treated humanely and with dignity. It's quite clear that you've made in the report, you've also made a distinction between the patient's rights that's been violated and the family's rights that's been violated. Am I correct?
That is correct.
I would just
Ubebuzwa umbuzo ke la ukuthi ukuya ngalokhu ukuxhashazwa kwamalungelo ukhulumeke ngezindaba ke zamalungiselelo kokususwa kwabantu lapho ukusetshenziswa kwezithuthi nokuthi ke kuleyo mbiko ke ukhulume ngodaba lokuthi ke kuye kwaqhashazwa amalungelo wezigulane kanye namalungelo wamalungu wemindeni. Uthi yebo kunjalo.
Professor, I'd like you to just speak freely and just explain that distinction, and from your report, just explain, how you experienced that these families' rights were also violated. And I see that you've made mention of the improper consultation process that was conducted and so on. But I would like you just to elaborate on how do you say and what do you mean when you say that the families' rights were also violated.
Okay, let me just remind everybody that I had the opportunity to interview 73 people, and some were relatives of the deceased, family members, and members of the committees of the families. And what came out was really the fact that many of the families did not know where their relatives were. They did not know where their relatives were transferred. They were poorly informed about when they would be transferred. And that obviously I regarded as something for people who had stayed at Life Esidimeni, some of them for so long, that it was a simple common courtesy that should have been actually offered to the relatives to say, on this particular day, we have decided or have taken a decision to transfer so-and-so, who is either your uncle or your son. We are transferring them to so-and-so. And again, I'm going to give you a very simple example, and I'll go back to Reverend Mabuye. His son, Billy, was transferred, and for almost like a year, he didn't know where his son was. until by coincidence on his birthday, I think he received a call. And it happened to have been his son, and that's how he identified where his son was at the Bupilong Sirman. It was just a coincidence, it was on his birthday. And that's when he said, I'll come and see you, and that's when he went to buy this Kentucky thing I was talking about yesterday. Now, that's just a simple person where you have a father who for a whole year did not know where his son is, almost. And I can say that for a number of these patients. There is another one called Makgoba, who I think the sister is also here. It's not Makgoba, it's Makgoba. Although it sounds a little bit more attractive and easy to me. But you know, the brother died, and for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, she did not know that her brother died until she received a phone call from an NGO telling her that either they are going to bury the brother or they are going to, they must come and collect the brother. And then there is Virginia, Machapela, the same thing. So you can see why the relatives or the families were actually not treated, I think, with what I would call common courtesy, human dignity, and human respect that should be accorded. But importantly, these are embedded in our Constitution. To treat people with respect is one of the pillars of our Constitution. And that did not occur in relation to the relatives or the family members. Now, when it comes to the patients themselves, I mean, it was like horror stories. You came in, you heard stories like patients were transported in appropriate transports where some of them had to be tied to the vehicles because the transportation was not appropriate. Some patients were transferred from LE maybe to Cullinan, and then from Cullinan they would be transferred somewhere else, almost against the decision of the team that had assessed them as to where they fit. Now, I think it's a requirement in mental health that if you're going to put a mental health patient somewhere, first of all, you must assess the capability of the patient. What are they capable of doing intellectually and otherwise and physically? And then you must identify a suitable place that would befit their requirements. Now you can imagine when you have an assessment team at the base and it says you must go to Cullinan, and you arrive at Cullinan, you are told, no, now you must go to Precious Angels. What informed that kind of decision? And how would you classify that? Because it contravenes the very basic essence of what is required in the assessment of a mentally ill patient. And some of them, as I say, they were transferred several times. And every time you transfer a mentally ill patient, it takes something out of them. And it often takes longer to recover. And you can imagine the number of times you do that, and some of them are not even aware where they are going. They don't protest. Occasionally they do, but generally they don't protest. And basically, you are doing something against people who are so vulnerable, but as I say, they are silent and quiet in whatever they are experiencing, you don't know. And I just thought that was cruelty.
Thank you, Professor. Perhaps we should have the interpretation here.
Yebo uadvocate ubembuza ke ucela usolwazi ukuthi ke acacise kabanzi ukuthi usho ukuthini uma ethi amalungelo abantu aye aqhashazwa lapho kanti ke uprofessor yena uma uphendula ngokuthi yena uye wabuza imindeni namalungu wemindeni walabo bantu abashonile nabathintekile wahlala nabo phansi wababuza imibuzo ngenkathi enza uphenyo lwabo kanti ke kulapho aye athola khona ukuthi iningi labo babengazi nokuthi ke imindeni ya amalungu emindeni wabo labo abagulayo ukuthi basusile babamikisa kuziphi izibhedlela futhi babengazi nokwazi ukuthi basusiwe lapho life Esidimeni kanti ukukhuluma udaba lokuthi abanye babo bokuabantu ukuthi sebahlele cishe unyaka wonke lapho Esidimeni kodwa ngenkathi ke bebesusa bebemikisa kwezinye izindawo abaphathi baseSidimeni azange babe nalobo buntu bokuthi baye bazise imindeni yabo ukuthi ke basusa ke amalungu wabo noba labo bantu abagulayo babamikisa kuziphi izindawo nasemva kokuthi babasusile labo bantu azange babuyele bazise imindeni yabo ukuthi ke isigulane zabo bazisusile nokuthi zimikiswe kuyiphi indawo uye waphinda futhi wenza isibonelo lesasenzile izolo sika mfundisi uMabuya ukuthi ke ingane ubengazi ukuthi ingane yakhe imikiswe kuphi cishe unyaka wonke kanti waze ngokuthi ngosuku lakhe lokuzala lo mfana wakhe wamshayela ucingo kulapho ke uye aqala ukwazi khona ukuthi ke indodana yakhe isusiwe lapho imikiswe kuyiphi indawo kanti ke ubona ukuthi lokho ke akunabuntu kulokho ngoba ke bokufanele ukuthi bamazise umfundisi ukuthi ke indodana yakhe bayisusile ubale nabanye ukuthi baningi khona uMakgoba ukukhulume futhi nango Virginia Machepa ukuthi ke nabo ke izehlakalo ecishe zifana nalezo manje ke uthi ke uyagcizelela ukuthi ngempela yena ubona ngathi azange kube khona ubuntu nje bokuthi bazise labo bantu ukuthi ke izigulane zabo zasuswa lapho zimikiswa kwenye indawo kanti ke futhi ukukhulume nangendaba ukuthi uma abantu abagula ngokwengqondo besuswa bemikiswa kwezinye izindawo kufanele ukuthi bahlolwe labantu kwenziwe ke lokho kubizwa ukuthi inhlolo khono ukuhlolwa ikhono ukuthi ukwazi ukwenzani ucabanga kanjani iziphi izinto angakwazi ukuthi azenze nokuthi yipi indawo efanele ukuthi ke amikiswe kuyo akwazi ukuthi anakekelwe kangconywana kanti ke futhi nodaba lokuthi labantu mebesuswa njalo behanjiswa babengatshelwa nabo ukuthi basuswa nokuthi bamikiswa kuphi kanti ke umuntu ogulayo konke lokhu kuyamthinta engqondweni futhi ke lokho kwenza ukuthi ke acindezeleke kubhebhethise nesimo sakhe sokugula kwengqondo kanti ke uthi ke lezo ke ezinye zezinto ebezikhomba nje ukuthi ke bokuchashazwa amalungelo oluntu wenze isibonelo ukuthi ke kukhona lapho abanye ke labo behanjiswa ngemoto ezingafanele abanye bebeboshwa lapho kanti lokho ke ukuhlukumezwa kwabantu kuyakhomba yizo izibonela zenzayo ukuthi ke kuyakhomba nje ukuthi amalungelo abantu nangempela ayiqhashazwa.
Thank you. Professor, in respect of the fiduciary duty, you state there that ineffective leadership and direction was lacking in the process of transfer, as monitoring and control occurred post the events and there was poor response towards further occurrence of deaths. Do you mean thereby that, notwithstanding complaints and notwithstanding this already being identified as a crisis, there wasn't any crisis control or lack of crisis control?
I think they didn't actually realize that there was a crisis. I think you remember when Jesus Christ was on the cross and he said, Father, forgive them for they know not what they are doing. I think it was a situation similar to that. They did not seem to have a clue as to what they were doing, whether they were in a crisis or not. That's how I would put it. I'm not a Bible reader, but I used to go to Sunday school in my childhood.
Yes, Professor, I was just about to say, with a string of medical and science degrees, it's refreshing to hear you call the Bible to assistance.
It comes from Sunday school.
I'm glad you remember that. Yeah.
Umbuzo ke ubebuzwa la ukuthi ke manje ke ukuya ngalezo zexwayiso ezabakhona kulabo baphathi ubecelwa nje ukuthi achaze ukuthi kusho ukuthi ke bona azange bakuthathele ekhanda ke lokho ukuthi bayakwazi ukuthi babhekelele lolo hlelo uprofessor ke yena uphendule ngokuthi hayi nami ngibona ukuthi bona baye bakushaya indiva azange bazathathe izexwayiso nezeluleko bazinikezwayo kanti ke wenza isibonelo lapho ke ngoJesu ukuthi ngenkathi ke beshayela esiphambanweni lapho ke wathi baba baxolele ngoba abakwazi abakwenzayo uthi bekuyisimo cishe esifana nalezo.
I just note there in the same paragraph, you actually state there that the plan the project plan was unsigned and therefore not approved by relevant authorities. Is that correct?
That's the document that we were given. I never saw a signed one. And there was always a contestation whether this was a plan or it was just something that was cobbled together. I think there were many people who wanted to see a plan who would have evaluated it, I think including Section 27. They never saw a plan. So there was an issue. But what for me is important was whether you saw a plan or not. When you interrogated people to give evidence, there was such a disparity between what was happening on the ground and what would have been written in that sketch, if I may call it. I don't call it a plan, it was a sketch. So there was a huge difference between what appeared to be on paper and what was happening on the ground. And the question is, if you are looking for evidence, do you believe what is on paper or you believe what you see and that people have experienced? And I chose the latter. That, and because I was interviewing a diverse group of people that I knew would never have caucused or gossiped together, I had to rely on their word and their evidence that they were speaking the truth.
Ubebuzwa ke ukuthi manje njengoba bekukhona lokho uhlelo le project plan uprofessor Makaphendula uphendula ngokuthi yena uzwile ngayo kodwa akaze abone ecikiciwe kanti ke ngenkathi ke yena ebona lokho ubone ngathi kuyisketch nje kuzibhalelwe nje akabonanga kuhlelo ngoba ke kukhona izinhlangano bezifuna ezicele ukuthi zibone leyo project plan ukufana ne section 27 kodwa ke azange bayibone kodwa engikushoyo futhi ukuthi mina ngibone ukuthi lokho obuquketho kuloyo mqulu obubizwa ngokuthi uhlelo bokungahambelani nalokho obokwenzekayo kulezo zikhungu ingakho ke mina bengibona ukuthi lokho akuyona uhlelo obofanele ukuthi lungasebenza kanti ke ukhuluma futhi ngokuthi ngiye ngabuza imibuzo abantu abahlukahlukene abantu engicabanga ukuthi bebangakaze babonane noma bakhulumisane ngaphambilini iyo ke indlela engiye ngayisebenzisa ukuze ngikwazi ukuthi ngiqokelele ulwazi.
In fact, just to complete, I think Mr. Museno, who was supposed to be the project manager, who has given oral evidence, I think it's contained in the report. He makes the point that when he read the plan, it read like a cost analysis rather than a plan. So you bring somebody to come and actually manage a project, and the person tells you, this doesn't look like a proper plan. So there were difficulties, I think, for many stakeholders about the so-called plan that appeared. But that's all I can say.
Ugcwalisa ngokuthi ke nomnumzana uMsenogi lokukhulunywa ngaye izolo kufanele kube yiproject manager ngenkathi efika bamnikeza lo hlelo naye ke uye waphikisa lokho wathi hayi lokho akubonakali njengohlelo njengeplan kubonakala njengohlaziyo lezindleko icost analysis kanti ke umuntu ke onesipiloni alethe ukuthi azophatha iproject makafika la athola ukuthi hayi akulona uhlelo engasebenza ngalo lokho kusho ukuthi yiso isimo ebesikhona ngaleso sikhathi.
Professor, from the report you can confirm that a number of the family members complained of the conditions of their loved ones and that to some extent or in some cases there was no intervention or seeing that the patients died. At other times, the state will only intervene a week or a month later. I see from the report itself that the Ombudsman wrote in October in respect of the situation specifically at CCRC and Anchor, and it took them, I think, week and a half, 2 weeks to take steps there. But you can confirm that the families complained. They knew about this. And they complained, not per se to the Ombudsman, but to the government. And they tried to give it, to place it under their attention and say, we need assistance.
I think that is correct. I think the response was often, I think, not quick enough just like I think yesterday we spoke about how they financially resourced some of these NGOs where they went to them, requested them to provide a service and did not pay them. Some of them had to go in fundraising. Some actually supported the patients from their own money and the money of their families. And I can quote an example of Anchor. I think the person who ran Anchor is a lady who belongs to a church process, and she had to go and raise money in order to support the patients that had come to her NGO. So yes, I think patients complained. The response was often very slow. But also remember that relatives actually had a relationship with Life Esidimeni. And I don't want to paint Life Esidimeni as a paradise, but they did have a common understanding between themselves and Life Esidimeni. They knew what to do, and they knew who to contact, and often that relationship appeared healthy. When they were told that their relatives were going to be transferred, they wanted to actually examine the places where they were going to be transferred, and they were not given the opportunity to do so, to go and actually see where is my uncle going to be transferred. And later on, I think there was a family committee that was also requested to go and look at these NGOs. They went, about 6 of them, and they found them woefully inadequate, and that was actually reported. What was done about that, I think only God knows. But there were all these processes or signals coming from different angles about, I think, the problems that were existent in the NGOs that were reported. Now, I do agree that in terms of the CCRC, this is a very special place. And like many special places, when they succeed, they succeed very well. And when they fail terribly. Now, you would have known that CCRC is a rehabilitation center. It's not really classically a hospital. It's a rehabilitation center. And it hosted 3 NGOs. One was called Life Disciples. The other one was Tiabadinga. The other one was Enko. And all of this, when they came, they obviously compromised the governance of that rehabilitation center. They also compromised the human resources in that center because they had to be deployed. They compromised the budget of that resource center, such that at one point or another there was a strike. The medical services or the health services were also compromised because they are thin on the ground, and now they needed to be stretched to look after all these other people that have been. And also, can you imagine a state institution goes and harbors an NGO within state grounds? What were the legalities that they went through? And then one of them, they discovered that actually it has no license, but it's on their ground. So we have those kinds of things like that.
Go ahead.
Ubebuzwa ke umbuzo ukuthi ingabe imindeni le yona iye yafaka yini izikhalazo maqondana nesimo esibhekene nezigulane ukuba amalungu wemindeni yabo njengoba ke kukhona ke lapho ke kuqukethwe kule mibiko uphendula ngokuthi yebo bebikela uhulumeni kodwa ke uhulumeni ke wayengaphuthumi ukuthi ke aphendule kulokho kanti nangemuva kokuthi ke sekaqoke lama NGO ukuthi ke bathathela lezi zigulane lama NGOs wayengakhokhelwa ngesikhathi kanti ke bokubanzima kakhulu ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi baqhube imisebenzi abanye babo babegcina besebenzisa imali yabo kanti wenze isibonelo uAnka ukuthi kukhona umama lapho wesonto okwazi ukuthi abuthelele imali akwazi ukuthi ancede lezi zigulane kanti uye waqhubeka futhi ukukhuluma ngokuthi ke imindeni yezigulane bese inobudlelwane ne-life Esidimeni ize bekungeyona indawo engathi bokungekho zinkinga kodwa ukusala bebanobudlelwane bebazi ukuthi kufanele ukuthi baqhumane nobani uma befuna ukubona imindeni yabo manje labo bantu mesebesuswa lapho bemikiswa kwezinye izindawo kube nzima kakhulu ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi ke bazi ukuthi amalungu wemindeni yabo ikuphi kanti wenze isibonelo nge-rehabilitation center eseKhalinen ukuthi yona indawo ekhethekile kodwa ngendaba yokuthi kuye kwalethwa abantu lapho lokho kuye kwafaka ingcindezi enkulu kubasebenzi nakwimisebenzi yabo ngendaba yokuthi ize bebenza kahle imisebenzi yabo kodwa ke manje uthola ukuthi njengoba imisebenzi sowandile nabasebenzi nabo bancanyana kufanele ukuthi ke bazame ukuthi ke bazandise babone ukuthi bayenza kanjani imisebenzi uthi ke ezinye zezinto eziyeza bangela nama ezibangele ukuthi ke kubhebhethekise inkinga besibhekane nayo.
You know, Professor, I know Advocate Groenewald is on a course, but this rings in my head every minute when I look at your interview and your discussion with the MEC. I can't get to the root of it. What was she doing? What drove her in the face of all of these warnings by experts, by head of clinical departments, by families, by the very manager of the project she appointed, who talks about a costing plan rather than anything else, and by all of the indications around her, and she still pushes through when the risks appear so ominous, at least from your interview with her and all the objective facts around. What was it? Did she tell you what drove her so hard to want to do this? That turned out so fatal.
I think she never understood, and again I would refer to the Bible as I've already done, that I don't think she understood the magnitude of the problem, and as such, I think I tried to find out what actually happened and what were the controls that she put in, and all I could gather was that this whole thing, although she had given instructions as to what must happen, and I think everybody realized that that's what needed to happen, because I think when you spoke to the subordinates, they said once that was decided, then they just had to implement. It was like what do you call it? The charge of the light brigade.
Yes, but why so many people at the same time, without adequate resources, with so disastrous consequences? Did you ever manage to put your finger on what was that pressure about?
I don't know.
What is it that needed so many people to be transferred so hurriedly, in such an unprepared way, and expectedly led to their death? Well, did the MEC tell you why was this a compelling political or administrative or leadership issue that had to happen?
No, I never got that one. I have to confess. I don't have that one. It bothered me a lot, but I tried in various ways, but I never got an answer.
Did she complain about the cost issue at Esidimeni?
Yeah, that was the rationale that was given, I think, even publicly. But as I say, when you have, and I have to give this example because it always reminds my father. My father always used to tell me, it's very expensive to educate a child who is not bright. And his biggest advice to me was never to marry a woman who is not bright either. But the point I'm trying to bring here is that,
And hopefully also never marry a man who is not bright.
correct. But you know, I think the point I'm trying to make here is that people who were at life as Esidimeni, they were classified as patients of the state. And I cannot, for the hell of me, understand where you classify people under a constitution, directive, or principle, and you think that you can maintain their life on the cheap. That to me, I mean, if the Auditor General had said that, you know, your books are not balancing, I think any Auditor General, if any considerate person went to the Auditor General and said, look, I've got a group of mental ill patients that I need, can we organize the budget in a particular way that would allow us to look after this people? I think auditors would be able to listen to that. But to go and choose the most vulnerable people to do your cost cutting without actually thoroughly interrogating it, I just thought that was also not appropriate of them. But to think that, as I say, you can look after vulnerable people on the cheap, if ever there is a lesson, we have to learn that. Because if you're going to pay, say, 100 rands a day or a month at the NGOs, you know, you're paying 2,000 rands per patient at Vescopis. Now, this whole cost-cutting thing has just gone out of the window. From the time when they started to close the NGOs, 6 of them were closed even during the process of investigation. And they were being transferred back into hospitals like Sterkfontein and Vescopis. And once you went there, the amount of money you're going to pay is 4 or 5 times more than what they were paying at Life Esidimeni. So it didn't make logic why you could afford to pay that, but you couldn't have just maintained it at Life Esidimeni.
And I'm going to allow our esteemed interpreter to make his point. There's quite a lot. We can hand it over back to Advocate Grunewald. It's just something that worries me, and I remember it in my shower this morning. I remember it again in my trip here. Why? I mean, that is the big question. Why? And we have to try and get to understand that. Why this was a compelling public or state interest to discharge these people, deinstitutionalize them, and spread them around in facilities which, on all accounts, Professor Makgoba tells us were inadequate. Anyway, we will have to come back to that point at some other time. Finish.
Ujaji la ebuza ke lolu daba uthi Professor ngiyakuzwa uyakhuluma uyachaza ngakho konke lokhu, kodwa ke mina into engayizwisisi ukuthi ke kuzingxoxo zakho nomphathiswa uMEC kungani ke yena ube eshaya indiva izeluleko bezinika yilabo bantu izingcwethi amalungu womndeni nazo zonke ke izikhalazo ezibekhona nabanye abesebenzisana nabo kanye nabaphethe ama project ubekafuna ukwazi ukuthi kahle kahle yini into ebe imphoqelela ukuthi asuse labo bantu eLife Esidimeni abamikise kulezo ezinye izindawo ukukhulunywa ngazo ukuthi lezo zindawo njengoba uprofessor echazile ukuthi izindawo banganakhono lokunakekela abantu abakusimo esifana nalezi zigulane. Kanti usolwazi yena uma ephendula naye uthi kuye kwamdida kakhulu lokhu ngoba uye wazama ukukhuluma ukuthi akwazi ukuthi afunisise kahle lolu daba ukuthi ke kahle imbangela ephoqelela ukuthi labantu basuswe lapho bamikiswe kwezinye izindawo yini kodwa azange athole umqondo ophusile kulokho uye waqhubeka futhi ukuthi njengoba bokunjalo kube khona wenza isibonelo sokuthi lapho elife esidimeni ngathi bokukhokhelwa imadlana engaphansi kwale ekhokhelwa evescopis ngathi bathe 2000 manje ke wayengazwisisi kahle ukuthi kungani ngoba lebe kukhokhelwa imali encane kodwa bona bathi bafuna ukonga imali kodwa bagcina sebakhokha imali eningi le kulezo zibhedlela ezifana nevescopis ne Sterkfontein uthi ngiye uye wazama ngakho konke ukuthi ke abhekisise nokuthi azwisise lokho bezama ukuchaza ngoba nasemphakathini bebakhuluma lokho ukuthi ukususwa kwabantu lapha life esidimeni kungenxa yokuthi bafuna ukuthi bonge imali kodwa ke egcineni bagcine kusetshenziswa imali eningi kunaleyo ibe isetshenziswa lapho kanti ke nalabo bantu bamikiswa kulezo zindawo ezingalungelanga ukuthi zinganakekela abantu abakusimo esinjalo kanti ke uthi kuzo zonke ke lezo zingqoqo azange nami ngithole umqondo ophusile ukuthi noma isizathu esiphoqelela ukuthi labo bantu basuswe life esidimeni bamikiswe kulezo izindawo ebezingalungelanga ukuthi zinganakekela labo bantu.
Advocate Grunewald, I turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Justice. Professor, we are here to get closure for the families. Now, we know that these families were informed, listen here, some of them were informed, that listen, your family members will be, or your loved ones will be transferred to this place. Some of them were shown the places or the wards, and said, yeah, they will be fine. They will be looked after. They will be cared for. Now, we know that didn't happen. And you will agree with me that the state lied to these family members.
I'm not a lawyer, and I find the usage of that word very difficult and complex. I don't know whether they lied or whether they were incompetent. I really don't know. I think there's a big difference between those two. So I'm not able to really, lying is a deliberate, intentional process, and I don't think that there could have been such an intention. Incompetence is often subconscious and not deliberate, and I think there was just general incompetence across the system. And when signals were made available, they were not read in the proper way. But I think if you read my report, you'll realize that I actually wrote this report in what I describe as understated English. I didn't write it like a direct South African English. I had to appeal to my other linguistic abilities to say it must have a meaning, and it must create people who read it to be imaginative, rather than to simply say, this is this in black and white. I never wrote the report that way. So to say that they lied is too strong a word. And the state, you would have to identify who constitute the state. And I wasn't investigating the state. I was investigating a project in a province. So
But were there promises that were not fulfilled?
I think so. I think there were promises that were not fulfilled, that were even actually, I think, communicated in court, that we will try and provide better care or equivalent care when we take the patients from life Esidimeni. I think that was communicated in one of the court
Yes,
decisions.
look at the deed of settlement
Yeah.
between section 27
Yeah.
and the department.
Yeah. So that, those things were there, and it was often also communicated during the time when even the director of mental health was speaking to relatives that you shouldn't worry, we are going to provide fairly reasonable care when you live life as Esidimeni. So,
Sometimes when harm is caused, intent becomes irrelevant.
yeah, but that's
You do things inappropriately, inefficiently, and you don't meet your promises, harm eventuates.
Yeah.
And the law is just as impatient about that
correct.
as it is about untruths or lying.
I think the point that we just like to make is that, you know, the families, whether or not it was intentional or whether or not it was not intentional, the families were misled. You know, they were made to believe that their family members, loved ones will be fine, and that were not the fact. And I would just like to refer you to one section of your report.
Okay.
And as far as you say that, well, I don't think they lied, you know. I refer you to one section. You say the MEC, the HOD, the Director of Mental Health and a team, the various directors of the 3 NGOs, Precious Angel, CCRC, Anchor, Sia Badinga, Mosego Takalani, and the other NGOs all knew they had no capacity, no competent and qualified professional staff to look after such patients. Vulnerable patients were thus placed into circumstances that could not preserve their lives. They knew that. They said to the families, your loved ones will be fine.
I stand by that statement. Perhaps maybe to put it in gentler English, I would say they were economical with the truth.
Bokukhulunywa la ukuthi uadvocate ukhulume ukuthi ngoba imindeni ke manje izela ifuna ukwazi ukuzisisa kahle lokho okwenzakele yize abanye baye baziswa ngenkathi ke izigulane zabo zisuswa abanye azange baziswe kodwa okusalayo bona baye bathenjiswa ukuthi hayi ningakhathazeki labantu masibabeka kule ndawo hayi kuzolunga bazonakekela kahle ngendlela efanele uambuza ke umbuzo ukuthi ingabe uyavuma manje ukuthi ke ingabe uhulumeni ube eqamba amanga yini ngalezo zethembiso usolwazi ke yena uphendula ukuthi yena njengoba engumeli ubona legama lokuthi amanga kuyigama engathi uqinisa kwamagama kanti ke yena uthanda nje ukuthi ngokombono wakhe ubona ngathi bokungekho khono elanele lokwenza umsebenzi lokubizwa phecelezi ukuthi incompetence kanti ke ukhulume futhi ngokuthi lokho kuyakhomba ukuthi ize kuye kwabakhona izinhle noma ke izeluleko zokuthi kukhona ubungozi obungahle buvele uma ke kuqhubekwa ngale project kodwa ke bona ke baye baqhubeka ngokuthi benze njalo kanti ke ijaji nalo liye langena lapho lifuna nje ukucacisa kahle ukuthi ngifuna ucacise nje ukuthi ngabe izethembiso ezathenjiswa amanini noma amalungu wemindeni walabo abagulayo ukuthi ziye zafezwa yini na uye waphendula ngokuthi cha lezo zithembiso konke lokho bathenjiswe khona azange kufezwe ngendaba yokuthi bona babetsheliwe ukuthi la abantu noma izigulane zimikiswa khona kukhona abantu abafunde ngokwanele abangakwazi ukuthi banakekele laba bantu kodwa kwatholakala ukuthi akulona iqiniso lelo uye waqeda ngokuthi mina ke ngeze ngisho ukuthi ke amanga kodwa ke ngibona nje ukuthi hayi akulona iqiniso limsulwa lelo.
Thank you. Professor, just a further point in respect of the families. Am I correct to say that in your report you go so far as to say that the families actually endured emotional and psychological trauma?
You can see that even today.
Yes.
So it's not something that it's endured. They're still enduring the trauma. I mean, most of them here are pained. And that's why I think they've come to this process to seek closure or to seek a better understanding. And part of the reason why I felt that, you know, this process would be a reasonable one to follow was because, you know, we live in a very complex world where there are many truths. There's legal truth, there's scientific truth, there's biblical truth, there's traditional truth. All these are truths that guide people's lives. And no single truth for an individual is adequate. We live in the milieu of those truths. One day you go and pray to your ancestors. You don't understand why you're doing it, but you nevertheless do it. The following day you go to church to pray to God. You do it also. And it's all part of your trying to explain your existence and your guidance in life. That's what we all do. So this process for me was more reasonable because people could talk to each other, could understand, and I could be interrogated like you're doing.
I'm not interrogating you.
You could clarify, things. I understand that. I'm just using the word. So that I think people could understand what I went through in order to compile the report that I've compiled.
Ubebuzwa ke ukuthi ke kulombiko bukhona la ekhulume khona ngokuthi nabantu ke kube khona imithelela yokucindezeleka kwemizwa nomqondo u professor ke uphendula ngokuthi nanamuhla uyababona njengoba bekhona la kuyabonakala nje ukuthi basazwe ubhlungu basadabukile emoyeni kanti ke futhi beze la ukuthi bazokwazi ukuthi bazwisise kangconywana ukuthi kahle kahle kwenzekeni kanti ukhulume futhi ngokuthi angazi ke kodwa kukhona amaqiniso ehlukile ngoba ke kukhona ngesinye isikhathi uyavuka ekseni usiyophahla amadlozi thina ke abesintu kanti ke uthola ukuthi ngesonto siyale enkonzweni usho ukuthi zonke ke lawo maqiniso la izizathu nje zokubhekelela ezenza ukuthi ke impilo iqhubekele phambili kanti ke akushoyo ukuthi ugcizelela nje udaba lokuthi yebo lokho ke kube nengcindezi kakhulu kwimizwa yemindeni kanye ingcindezi ngokomqondo kwimindeni njengoba kusabonakala nanamuhla.
Thank you, Professor. I'd just like to get to the situation there at CCRC more specifically. Now, in your report, you state that according to you that 25 patients died at CCRC, Siabadinga and Anchor. And they were all three on the same premises, as you indicated. And you also testified that CCRC is not an NGO.
No, it's not an NGO.
CCRC is not an NGO. So you then referred to, in the report, you also make mention of the multiple transfers of the patients. And you testified yesterday that the individuals that, or the patients that died at CCRC or were transferred to Siabadinga, they were sacrificed for the life Esidimeni patients that needed to come to CCRC.
Correct.
In your report, it's a bit unclear for me because we know that Siabadinga closed down. The people were again transferred somewhere. Anchor also closed down. So were all those individuals now and patients now returned to CCRC?
The patients who went to Siabadinga from CCRC, they were CCRC patients originally. So when it closed, they would have automatically gone back to CCRC because they are registered in the system as CCRC patients. The patients who were at at the Anchor, which was another NGO, when it closed, they also were registered as CCRC patients because they were brought through that kind of, I suppose, a form of governance. So they would have gone back to CCRC. That's why, although CCRC is not an NGO, it behaved in a manner that is also not consistent with how it should behave as a rehabilitation center. and it had this confusing management structure or corporate governance that allowed these 3 NGOs to exist within that, using the state resources to actually to keep them surviving, but not following the proper legalities to deal with that. And just to correct it, when I did my report, it was indeed 26, and when I finalized it, it's exactly 29.
29.
Bebuzwa ke ukuthi ke ubuya ke ngalombiko ukuthi ke kukhona ke abantu abayibashona bonke 25 lapha CCRC kanti ke futhi na ukusebenzisana ne siyabadinga kanye ne-anchor kanti ke kuye kwakhulunywa ke ukuthi la impilo zezigulani ziye zabekwa engcupheni uyabuza ukuthi ke ingabe bekasho ukuthini makasho lokho uthi yebo ngiyavumelana nalokho okushoyo ngoba ke uma sesibheka ke lezi i-CCRC yona rehabilitation center akuyona i-NGO kodwa lamanye ama-NGO nawo asemagcekeni wayo iyo into emdida kakhulu ukuthi kuza kanjani ke ukuthi ke kuyahambisana yini nomthetho izinto ezifana nalezo kodwa ke okusalayo yiso ke isimo ukuthi besinjalo futhi ukhuluma nokuthi lezi zigulane njengoba zisuswa ke zimikiswa ke kulezi lama NGOs bona bekuyizigulane ezibhaliswe ku CCRC ingakho ke ngenkathi ke zivalwa ke babuyisela ngapha kanti ke futhi ke lokho ke kubona ngathi ke ukubhekelela leso simo ukubhekelela ukukhuculula kwaleso simo ngoba ngendlela isivumelwano phakathi kwe CCRC kanye nalama NGOs asazi ukuthi besemthethweni noma kanjani kodwa ngenkathi siphenya yizo ke izinto esiye sazithola lezo.
Professor, to interrupt Advocate Grunewald again, one of the things that give me little sleep is your conclusion that the licensing was irregular, was mainly irregular, licensing of NGOs.
Yes.
Now here is the question, which is related to the first question I asked you about the MEC. Was there any pattern, was there any inference could be made in relation to choices that were made in placing mentally ill patients? In other words, I'm asking the question, who was favored? Which NGOs, licensed or not, tended to get numbers or large numbers of patients and therefore large amounts of money, presumably. Also, of course, the obligations. Could you sense, could you detect a pattern other than that some were licensed and most were not licensed? Or infer a motive or a reason for choosing particular NGOs?
Well, I think that was very difficult for me to establish. What I did gather was that people were called to a meeting to one of the Life Esidimeni halls and told them that we are going to transfer patients from Life Esidimeni, and this is an opportunity, to provide empowerment to people who can either modify their homes in order to accommodate patients. So that was one thing, and I think a few people got excited because some of them already had homes, so they could extend them, or they already had NGOs, they could extend them. Some already had licenses that were given by social developments, and they could change them a little bit to maybe to fit mental health. Others just had houses that they felt needed to be modified. The problem was when people left there with that excitement, we never knew what was the criteria that was then used to select the ones that were preferred. there was never a clear criteria. And as I say, some were just told, go and change your home or modify, we will give you the license. Now, you don't do that with mental health. I mean, you can imagine, I have a car, I'm driving a car, and somebody says, no, your disc has expired, but you can drive it, and we'll sort it out some other day.
But could you detect patronage, social motivation, political motivation? Could you sense why particular NGOs would have been favored and others not? Well, even if this is an empowerment project. I'm just trying to think through how were they chosen other than a rational, independent criteria that says you have trained people, you have the facilities, you have the care necessary, or were there other considerations that were in play?
I think there's a suggestion that, I mean, if you were to speak to people, they will tell you that most of the newly established NGOs were in Tshwane. First of all, they were not randomly distributed across the province.
It worries me. I'm from Tshwane.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm a bit careful to use it. They were from Tshwane, but also something I didn't share because I didn't feel that maybe it was part of this. When I first requested from the MEC to give me the documents in order to prepare for my investigation, I requested her to give me all the necessary minimum documents that would help me, especially the NGOs that were used. She gave me 27, and later on I discovered there were 30. So there were 3 NGOs that I was not informed about, and I tried to find out why were these not given to me. One of them, I'm told, was fronting for another one. That one I'm aware. So there was an NGO that I was not given to go and investigate because it was fronting for one of the NGOs that was registered. So it was kept away from me. And another one, of course, I was never told.
Well, what does fronting mean here?
It means that they were accepting patients on behalf of another NGO that is registered, and they were obviously sharing whatever was coming between the two. So the registered one would claim more, or would claim for what they have accepted, and they will share it with the other one that is not registered, whatever. So there was no criteria, actually, for patients to be put into a place like that. That's why I had problems with the licensing process and the criteria that was used. But there were always rumors about that there were people in the department that knew others in the NGOs, but I didn't feel that I'm competent enough to investigate that kind of process. I had a very clear brief that I must look at the circumstances that led to death, not the circumstances that people were either socializing with each other. I wasn't in that, and it's not an area that I'm very comfortable with.
So the real answer is you couldn't detect any patterns.
No.
That would boil down to personal preferences or patronage or political linkages or social linkages. No, you couldn't find that.
No.
Thank you.
Ijaji belicela ingazelo la ukuthi manje ingabe ngenkathi ke kunikezwa ke noma kumikiswa lezigulane kulama NGOs ube efuna ukwazi ukuthi ingabe bokukhona yini indlela thize esetshenziswayo noma kukhona ama NGOs athandwa kakhulu mhlambe anikezwa abantu abaningi ukuze bakwazi ukuthi bathole imadlana ethe caca uma kuqhathaniswa namanye ama NGOs. Uma ephendula ke usolwazi ke yena ukhuluma ngodaba lokuthi yena akaze akubone lokho, kodwa into eyamcaka kakhulu ukuthi ke ngenkathi eqala uphenyo lwakhe uye wacela uMEC ukuthi amnikeze imiqulu bandakanya ke nawo ama NGO lawo athintekayo. uMEC wamupha imiqulu engu 27, kanti ke ngemuva kwesikhathi mase siqalile ngophenyo kwatholakala ukuthi ke bokukhona ama NGOs angu 30 ukusho ukuthi ke la amathathu wona ke aye agodlwa azange akhishwe ngalesi sikhathi nginikezwa lemiqulu kanti ke ithema ngizobhekisisa kahle ukuthi kahle isizathu sokuthi nginganikezwa imiqulu yalama NGOs amathathu yini ngathola ukuthi kukhona enye isebenzisana nenye ebhalisiwe kulapho ukuthi zisebenzisana zonke leyana ngathi phambili labanye basemuva kodwa kubantu khona ukusebenzisana uma bebikisa izigulane lapho nabo bakwazi ukuthi babelane ngemali uma ke sebafakile isicelo sokuthi sithole izigulane ezingaka kufanele ukuthi kutholwe imali engako manje ke ijaji belifuna ukuqinisekisa ukubuza umbuzo ukuthi yebo ngiyakuzwa ke uyachaza konke lokho kodwa ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi ingabe uma ubhekile bokukhona yini ukuthi ke kuthandwa ezinye inhlangano ngendaba ukuthi mhlambe kukhona ubudlelwane phakathi kwabo noma ke ngendaba zobudlelwane bezopolitiki noma ubudlelwane babasebenzi abasebenza mhlambe kumnyango nalabo abasebenza kuma NGO uthi hayi kahle mina lokho ke angaze ke ngikubukisise kahle kodwa ke ukuya ngale mibiko ekhona la ukuthi noma usolwazi ukhulume ngokuthi yena ke uye wezwa amahlebezi afana nalawo ngenkathi ephinyisisa lolo daba kodwa ke uthi yena ke wathatha isinqumo sokuthi cha mina akuwona umsebenzi wami lo mina bengibhekelele ngicashele ukuthi ngizophenya ngalezi ehlakalo ezenzekile kanti ke uye wagqila lapho ekutheni aphenye ayenze lo mbiko.
Advocaat Groenewald.
Thank you, Justice. Professor, your report, there's uncertainty as to patients that were transferred to Siabadinga and then again back to CCRC. Where the deaths occurred? Did it occur while the people were still at Siabadinga or when they returned to CCRC? So did they die at the hands of or under the NGO or under the department, if I can put it like that, because I see the acting CEO said no, it's actually at the CCRC.
I think the 10 patients that I spoke about died at Siabadinga. They did not die at the CCRC.
Ubebuzwa ke ukuthi ke lezigulane ngabe ke zishone kuphi eSiyabadinga noma eCCRC uphendula ngokuthi labo abayishumi engikhulume ngabo bashone eSiyabadinga hayi eCCRC.
Do you know when the patients were transferred back to CCRC?
You see, the deceased patients could not be transferred; they are deceased.
Yeah.
But they later on they closed Siabadinga. I don't have the date in my head when it was actually finally closed because there was a dispute between CCRC, the department, and Siabadinga, and they had to close it. But I'm not aware of the date. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that point, Professor, we have another individual here who has died on the 3rd of August 2016. He was a patient at CCRC. He was transferred to Siabadinga, and he was then transferred back to CCRC. We have his death certificate, and he is also not on the list of the deceased persons. So we would also request that the list be extended to include his name. But as indicated by Justice yesterday, we will approach you and we will provide you his details, and perhaps you can just, confirm that for us.
Can I just return back to this issue and maybe I will clarify. I needed to clarify this because yesterday I was given a task of 11 patients that had been brought by Section 27 and that died outside my period of investigations. And I want to put it this way. I do have a list of deceased patients up to the end of August. I have that compiled. Now, of the 11 alleged, or they became 9, I think, as we discovered it, there were about 6 that actually fell within the period that was outside my investigated period. but they are in the extended list of patients that have died. So it's not that I did not have them, but there are 3 that certainly were left life Esidimeni long before the control period, even before I started my investigations. So those will have to be excluded from the process. So I just hope.
But was it before the launch of the of the project? I'm just trying to find it.
Yes. The criteria that we used was that we were going to examine patients from the 1st of October 2015. Anybody who was discharged before that time would not fall within what we were doing. So some people obviously were discharged long before that and later on died during the process. So you couldn't have that kind of patient in the process. And as I say, yesterday when you gave me the 11, or when I was given the 11, I went back into my search engines and called in the verification team to look at all these 11. We found that 6 of them are actually in the extended list that I spoke about, that it's death that occurred after the 1st of February 2017. And then there were 3 that were long discharged from life Esidimeni even before I started the project. And that's the criteria that we have been using. But I'm quite happy to receive that and look at it and evaluate it again.
Prof, let me just clear this in my own mind. What is the effective date of Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project?
The announcement
I
was,
understand the control period that was chosen for your terms of reference.
Yes.
I'm more concerned about, on your investigation, when did the Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project start?
in October 2015.
And when did your terms of reference period start?
We started it at that time. We actually discussed how are we going to actually, what criteria are we going to use to investigate this process? We said, let's go back to when the project was actually initiated and track the people that were transferred from there, from life Esidimeni, up until the end of the period. And it turned out that between the months of October to the month of April, roughly about 16 patients were being transferred from life Esidimeni to the various NGOs. And it was only in May and June that there was this so-called, the big migration. For those of you who watch television, you remember the wildebeest migration in Masai Mara? That is what happened here. The big migration of patients took place in May and in June. I think it was...
Which is after April.
Yeah, as I say, from October 2015 to April, the transfer was about, as I say, 16 patients per month were being transferred from life Esidimeni to the various NGO. It was almost like a controlled period of transfer. And then there was a stampede in May and June. I think it was over 800 and around 500 in those kind of numbers.
But people who subsequently died after what you call the stampede, were they the subject of your investigation or not?
I remember that that was the period when I was not investigating.
No, I follow, I mean subsequently.
Yes.
Did they fall within the period of investigation?
The list that I reported yesterday, it's all the patients that died within the period of my investigation. That had been agreed with the National Department, my office, and the office of the Gauteng province. We agreed on a period that it will start from October, it will finish on the 1st of February, because that I was no longer really charged with the responsibility. But I will follow.
October 2015?
Yes, to February 2017, when I released my report.
Right.
So I'm quite happy to get the name. And as I say, I do have a list of deaths up until the end of August. But I divide this list between my period and my mandate, and from just a monitoring process where, because I think people know that I've been following this, I still get reports that.
Yes, that will be helpful, Professor. It's still helpful.
Yeah.
The balance of the question becomes legal.
Yeah.
The one question is the reach of your terms of reference.
Yeah.
We'll tick on that box.
Yeah.
And then the other is the verification of people who died.
Yes.
And when they died.
Yeah.
And whatever details you might have. We'll still need that.
Yeah,
We will have to go and put the safety gloves and
Yeah.
do the hard work and see whether or not they properly fall within the remit
Yeah.
of the arbitration and what we are doing. And that may very well be a legal question and less a question of time periods. So you are still that resource and the most reliable resource for us to say to us, this is our finding and these are the people. So they may, going back to Advocate Kunaval's question and Advocate Hassan's question, they must give you the lists, what they have, and you go and verify the way you know with the data you have. And if you could write a brief report to me rather than to them, saying what is the outcome of your investigation in relation to the names they have given you, we'll be most grateful for that.
I had already done it for the 11.
Oh.
So I can hand that one over. But the list that I gave yesterday, actually it contains the elements, the broader sheet. It contains all the elements that would be useful, I think, in determining whatever you want to determine.
And the broadsheet, just for my own clarity again, relates only to people who died within your period of of your terms of reference.
Yes, but I do have, as I say, an extended list that goes up to the end of August, which is similar to what I presented. But I knew that anybody who died after my period of investigation, it was for my record keeping rather than for the terms of reference for the arbitration. And if that becomes needed for your own terms of reference, I'm quite happy to provide
course,
that because
this is
I've done it in that standard way.
It's a horror discussion.
Yeah.
You keeping a register of death.
Well, I even discovered that one of the mortuaries was about 12 miles from my home, and I've got a picture of that where the bodies were kept. So that's how this thing.
After Advocate Kunaval, I'm just giving you notice, I'll have a few questions around death certificates and post-mortem reports, if any.
Yeah.
But I'll raise that once, Council, you have rounded up your examination.
Thank you very much, Justice. I'm almost there. I think perhaps if our colleague would like to translate.
Ngamafuphi obe kucaciswa la ukuthi ngomhla ka 3 August 2016 ngathi ke kuye kwabakhona ke abantu abashona lapha ku CCRL la eKhalinene kanti ke ube noma ke uadvocate uye wabuza ke ukuthi labantu basuswe nini ke lapho ukumikiswa ke siyabadinga kanti ke uprofessor ke uyawaphendula ukuthi ke abantu abashonile bona ke abasuswa ngoba bese bashonile ke ngaleso sikhathi kanti ke uadvocate uyakhuluma ke ukuthi ke kukhona omunye ubuya ngoluhlu lwakhe laphana ukuthi kukhona omunye oye washona ukuthi akekho kuloluhlu ke kulamagama abhaliwe kule list kanti uzocela ukuthi uprofessor afake loyo muntu kuleyo list kanti uprofessor uthi ithi ngicacise ke izolo ngishilo ngathi ke kukhona abanye abayishumi nanye esebashonile kufika uma kuphela uAugust kanti ke njengoba isection 27 nayo iye yasho ukuthi ke bacela ukuthi labo bantu nabo bafakwe kuleyo list kanti bangifike ekhaya ngiye ngakwazi ke ukuthi ke ngiqinisekise ukuthi ke labo bantu ke bakhona yini kulela luhlu ngathola ukuthi abayisithupha babo bakhona lapho kanti ke mina ke njengoba ngishilo ukuthi ke uthi ubephenya ukusuka ngoOctober kuye kufika kuFebruary October 2016 to February 2017 kulesikhathi kuqalwa ke yona le Gauteng Marathon Health Mental Project kusho ukuthi yena bekaphenya kuleso sikhathi kanti ke bebangabandakanyi ngaphambi kwalezi insuku ekukhulume ngazo kanti nangemuva kwalokho ngoba bekacelwe nje ukuthi aphenye leso sikhashana yize nje uyesaqhubeka yena ukuthi ke abhale njengoba esho ukuthi ke ufika uma kuphela uAugust bese kukhona ke abanye abayishumi asebashonile lapho kanti ke ijudge befuna nje ukuthi ke bazwisise kahle bacele nokuthi ke ayenze umbiko angawumikisi le kumnyango ku department kodwa alethe la kanti uSolwazi yena uyasho ukuthi hayi mina lo mbiko senginawo okukhona nje ukuthi ngananga ngawuthula loyo umqulu akunankinga ijudge ke yona ke ugcine lapho sekakhuluma ukuthi ke sizokhuluma ke ngendaba ke certificates zokushona ama death certificate mase sithole nemibiko yokuhlolwa kwezidumbu izinto ezifana nalezo sisazoza sikhulume ngalokho kanti sathemba ukuthi ke uprofessor naye uzosilekelela kakhulu kulokho ngoba sisazomdinga kulokho.
Thank you, Professor. We will lead the evidence of 3 family members that will say that the loved ones were transferred from CCRC to Siabadinga, then back from Siabadinga to CCRC, and then 2 of these family members went to CCRC. They saw their loved ones. They saw in the dire needs. They saw the death in their eyes, let's put it like that. They took them to hospital and they died. My question is, you testified and you clarified that Siabadinga closing down, Anchor closing down, all the people transferred back to CCRC. That time CCRC had a number of patients of Life Esidimeni. So there was a huge problem with the staff and patient ratio. Could you find anything which the CEO of the CCRC did to assist with the problem? Because we're looking now here at the period, and we say the period that Siabadinga was closed down was between July and August. So between July and August, patients went back to CCRC. And we know that Anchor, in terms of your report, closed down end of October. So now they're sitting there with quite a number of patients. Could you find anything in your report or anything in your investigation that the CEO or the acting CEO, because there was a CEO and that CEO was suspended, or we don't know what happened, then they had an acting CEO. Could you find anything that the CEO said, please help me, department, please come and assist us? What did they do?
I'm going to be brief. I think they had several CEOs, as you correctly record. I think the CEO that I had much interaction with was the acting CEO. She actually did appeal to the department for help in terms.
Sorry, I just want to interrupt you there. When was she appointed as the acting CEO?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but during the time of my investigation, she was the CEO, the acting one. I never met the one who had been suspended or the one who has come after. But during the period of my investigation from about October 2016 up until I finished my investigation, it was the acting CEO that I was relating to. And she did complain about human resource issues. She complained about overcrowding and appealed. But like everything else, I think the long arm of bureaucracy takes long, and I don't think she got the assistance that she needed. But she tried. She identified the issues and tried to get assistance, but never got it at the time.
And she complained to who? The MEC?
Yeah, well, they work through the MEC because she's part of the executive, yeah.
Umeli ubebuza ke ukuthi kukhona ubufakazi obuthulwe amalunga amathathu wemindeni ukuthi ke baya ke bheka izigulane zabo kanti ke ithema bafika ke lapho bagcinwe khona babona ukuthi hayi labantu bayagula babuthakathaka impela sebayashona nje labakhona bamikiswa esibhedlela kulabo bayashonela khona kanti ke uthi njengoba ianchor ne siyabadinga ziye zavalwa bese ke labo basebenzi ke noma ke lezigulane zamikiswa laphana eKalinen Rehabilitation Center lokhu ke kuye kwaba nengcindezi enkulu kubasebenzi manje ufuna ukwazi ukuthi uCEO lo ingabe wenzeni ukucela usizo kuhulumeni noma kumnyango kudepartment uprofessor uma ephendula ke lapho uthi njengoba ukhumbula ukuthi ke kube khona abo CEO abambalwa kodwa mina lo ebengisebenza naye ngenkathi ke ngiphenya le bokuyibambela lika CEO angazi ukuthi lo isikhulu sangaphambili ukuthi kwenzekeni nalo ozemuva ngikhuluma ngalo obophethe kusuka ngoOctober 2016 to February 2017 yena uye wakhuluma ukuthi yebo kunengcindezi yabasebenzi abanganele kanti ke futhi ke nokugcwala kakhulu kwezigulane uye wazama ukuthi ke acele usizo kuhulumeni kuMEC na ku department kodwa ke njengoba nazi ukuthi ke izinto ezikahulumeni zihamba kancane azange ke akwazi ukuthi athole lo sizo bekalicela.
Justice, I have
Yes.
4 more questions.
4 more.
4.
Councillor sense that I wonder when are we coming to an end?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sense that, Justice.
Yes.
Professor, the family members will come and testify that there's from May, from the period that the patients were transferred to Siabidinga, and when they later were transferred back to CCRC, they weren't allowed to enter the wards. They weren't allowed to walk in the halls. They weren't allowed to take pictures. Now, you will agree with me that clearly these people were hiding the truth from the family members. And they were hiding what was happening.
Well, you are telling me a story that I have no way of knowing whether it's truthful or not. I never received that kind of evidence. And maybe let them testify and be examined properly. I don't think I'm in a position to give a yes or no answer.
Advocate uthi ke kukhona amalungu wemindeni ke abazothula ubufakazi ukuthi lapho kusuka ngoMay lapho izigulane zezasuswa siyabadinga zabuyiselwa laphana eKalinen ukuthi ke ngaleso sikhathi babengavunyelwe ukuthi ke babe nezivakashi futhi ke babengavunyelwe nokuthi ke bathathe izithombe kanti lokho ke kuyakhomba nje ukuthi ke babefihla ukuthi bafihla isimo ukuthi singaveli emphakathini uprofessor uyaphendula lapho ukuthi mina ngeke ngaphendula kulokho ngoba mina ngingatholi ubufakazi obufana nalobo ngeke ngikhuluma ukuthi kuyiqiniso noma cha kodwa bona kufanele ukuthi beze bazothula lobo bufakazi.
Professor, do you know anything of the fact that a number of NGOs actually tried to assist or assisted these, how will I call it, Siabadinga and CCR, that amongst other Solidarity Helping Hand went, delivered food, clothing. There was a number of other civil organizations that provided meat and so on. And do you know of anything of, can you testify anything in respect to the fact that the people will come and testify and say, well, all those donations just vanished there at CCRC?
I cannot testify to what you are saying. The only testimony I can give is that the lady who is in charge of Anchor testified to the fact that she had to look for money for donations and so forth. So I don't know who she found the money from, but she had to look for money from the relatives, from friends, from various people who could donate. But I never actually met any of the donors or inquired about the donors and who was giving what and what they gave. She just said she was so cash-strapped and had these patients under her care and needed to do something, and that is something that she did, because in the church, this was something that she could get a better response from. That's all that I can testify.
Thank you, Justice.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, Counsel. We're going to have Legal Aid South Africa next, and then followed by evidence leaders if they have any specific questions, and a short re-examination from the state, which is called the witness. It is 7 minutes past. I thought I would use the time to ask 3-4 questions of my own, and you could start immediately after tea. Will that be suitable to counsel?
Thank you, Justice.
Yes. Professor, 4 questions again that will remain with you when you are gone, and I thought I should ask them now. The first is, this project is called Marathon. Do we know why is it called Marathon?
No, I never found out. But it looked like a sprint to me at the end.
Yeah. The second question is, do you know or did you come to discover any examples of terminations of contracts such as happened in relation to Life Esidimeni by the province in relation to health care?
No, I didn't, and actually I've searched through the literature in the world because this whole thing about deinstitutionalization is in vogue, if I may use that term, and I could only find 2 countries where this was attempted. It was in Italy and in France, and in all of them, I think they took a different route from the route that was taken here in South Africa. And at the end of the day, I can only say this. It is actually more expensive to invest in the infrastructure for deinstitutionalization than to even logically think you can use it as a cost-cutting exercise. So I don't know what they had read, I think, to come to that conclusion that they can use this as a cost. If you look at the literature in Italy, where it has now become almost like the way things are done, people are no longer in mental institutions. They are at NGOs because of the way they have structured their law, and in France. But it has been more costly to develop the community-based care services before they will begin to reap the effects of what they want to achieve. And we seem to be doing it the opposite, but I'll comment later on about something else that we boo-booed about in South Africa, but that's for later comment.
Professor, you made a series of recommendations which are remedial in nature, and we all know these sit, I think, in chapter 17. How many of these were actually implemented? You see, this process is part of your recommendation. So this is being implemented as you recommended. And closure is always about correcting errors of the past. Yeah. And this is what we're trying to do in part with this process. In regard to the balance of the recommendations, they're quite extensive. Do you know which have been followed up and are being worked on? Or is it just a case of inaction?
All of them are being followed up. All of them are being implemented. And all of them are in various stages of being completed. I meet with the 2 DGs regularly to get updates and to modify things. But for example, I'll just give you a very simple example. After my recommendations about the NGOs, the minister and the DGs in the Premier's office and the national minister appointed a multidisciplinary team of 60 people, social workers, psychiatrists, nurses, to go and visit each of these NGOs to see whether actually they meet the criteria to receive license. And none of them met the criteria. None of the 20. Now, this is after my recommendations that they should not have been licensed. None of them met the criteria to be able to register as NGOs that should host mentally ill patients. They all had to correct themselves, and I think they are now being reissued with new license. That's just one of the recommendations that has come there. And I think all the other legislative issues, I think the minister is taking care of them. But all the recommendations are in one stage or another of being implemented, and we have regular meetings to get some
So
updates.
you find an honest and rigorous process to implement the recommendations that we find in Chapter 18.
Yes. I think once the national minister and the premier got to know of what has happened, because it seems like when this project was taking place, for example, all people that I interviewed from the national ministry would give evidence that they were never on the loop. No advice was ever sought from the national ministry about this project, which has got implications for the rest of the country. And I think most of them testified to that effect. And maybe you can take that on maybe when we see other people. So that was the situation. The minister didn't know. The premier was the most surprised, because in one of the evidence, somebody alleged that they had taken the decision in his office, but not with him. They wrote this very, very typical English, where you say, we made the decision in the Premier's office. So that when you read it quickly, you think, oh, the Premier must have been there. Of course, people can use my office, but I don't necessarily have to be there. But it turned out that they were never in the Premier's office, and he was never part of it. So that was just, you call it what, name dropping or something like that in common speak.
Wonderful. It's good to hear that it's being done rigorously. In paragraph 6 of Chapter 18, you say corrective disciplinary action must be taken against members of the Gauteng Department of Health, and you list them by name.
Yeah.
Ms. S. Mashile, Mr. F. Tobani, Ms. H. Yakubas, Ms. S. Sinello,
Yeah.
Dr. S. Linkwani, and you go on. Now that I've mentioned some, I guess I have to mention all. Mr. M. Pitsi, Ms. D. Masondo, Ms. M. Nyatlo, Ms. M. Malaza, and you go on. They ought to apply disciplinary codes and procedures applicable to them. Do you know whether that has been done?
I know that it has been done for some of them. I think I can certainly say that I think Mr. Pitty was the wrong person there, because he's not actually a deputy director. I think he belongs to the district and so forth. I think that has been corrected. Mrs. Nyatlo is facing other disciplinary inquiry that are taking place, but the others, they have all undergone a process of disciplinary inquiry. They have all been given final written warning, and they are all being cancelled. And this were really the group of people who felt most fearful, and therefore felt paralyzed not actually to take their responsibilities correctly. And that's why I rather put it as a fiduciary responsibility, where you are given trust, but you don't apply that trust very well on behalf of the patients. And
yes, I'm going to give our interpreter an opportunity. I've noticed he's a very smart and competent gentleman, so I'm piling it on him.
Okay,
but I know uzoitola ngithi mntakithi. Yeah, ngiyakwazi nje. Now let me just finish off in this way. Of course, you know these questions are directed at public accountability.
yes,
When people have public power, and they mess up, we've got to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And these questions, I'm really trying to see whether the Ombuds report has been taken seriously. And that is why I'm asking the questions. Here follows the next question. You, in paragraph 13, you recommended that all patients from Life Esidimeni currently placed in unlawful NGOs must be urgently removed and placed in appropriate health establishment. Has that happened?
That has happened, and again, it has happened through a multidisciplinary team guided by experts, which we didn't do, I think, when we were transferring them. And I think almost all patients that were in those unlawful NGOs have been taken back into safe places, except where I think the relatives of the patient made a contrary view. But almost everybody is now in safe places. And I can also say this to this public, that since that process took place and it ended up in May, only 7 patients have died. I say only because when you compare it with the rate at which people were dying, if you said to somebody, if you translate that over a 12-month period, you know, and I'm talking about from May up until September, so you're talking about a period of 4 months, to have about 2 patients dying a month with that kind of condition, it would not be different from the death that occurs in the normal population. So the movement of patients from the NGOs back to hospitals has actually saved life. And it's another intervention that I will talk about, I think, when I do my final analysis.
And lastly, before we go to T, Professor, the very first recommendation was shut down Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project. Has it been disestablished?
Not only that, but I think the national minister not only shut that project down, he went to all the provinces to look whether there are similar projects. And there has been a report, I think, about this process to all the other provinces to see that such projects, again, fall into, according to the recommendations that I made, that the national ministry must actually take a lead and be able to provide guidance. Because one of the things I found during the investigation, when I asked the MEC, did you speak to the national minister or the national department? She said, I had no reason to do so. We have concurrent competencies.
Says who? The MEC?
Yeah, she says they've got, it's there in the report.
Yes.
She has concurrent competencies, so she can do what it likes. But when it gets tough, everybody asks, where was the national minister? Nobody, you know, asks where was the MEC. Everybody wants to know where was the national minister, even though the national minister might not have known just as much as the premier did not know.
Well, school.
I have left the document that it's just a modification, but I'll do in accordance to what you've suggested about the list, and then I'll forward it to you.
Thank you, Professor. I'm going to have the translation go on, and we're going to have a tea break, and we're coming back as a preview. We'll take questions from Legal Aid South Africa, and followed by any questions from evidence leaders and a re-examination by the state.
Ngamafuphi kuqale umeli la bebuza uprofessor ukuthi ke kunobufakazi bokuthi ke lama NGO ayethola iminikelo efana nokudla impahla zokugcoka into ezifana nalezo ingabe uyazi ukuthi yonke leminikelo iye yanyamalala yini na ubebuza uprofessor kanti ke uprofessor yena wathi yena akazi ke ngale mnikelo akwaziyo nje ukuthi ke kukhona umama oye wathula ubufakazi obuya ku-anchor ukuthi yena ke wayezama nje ukuthi ke aqokelele imali ukuze akwazi ukuthi ke alekelele lezi zigulane njengoba uye wathula ubufakazi bokuthi yena akanayo imali enele kodwa ke uyeza ukuthi ke unesibopho sokuthi aqhubeke ukunakekela lezo zigulane. Kanti ke ijaji nalo liye langenelela labuza ke imibuzo ngale project ukuthi ke le project lena yokususa kwabantu ke kuzikhungo lokho okubizwa ngokuthi i-deinstitutionalization ukuthi ke ingabe uprof wazi kangakanani ngalokho ke uthi ke uprof uye wafunda imibhalo maqondana ke nesipilo lesifana nalesi wathola ukuthi ke kukhona lapha eItaly naseFrance la kusetshenziswa khona uhlelo olufana nalolo kodwa uye wathola ukuthi ke kubiza kakhulu ukukhipha abantu kulezo zikhungu ngoba ke kufanele ukuthi ke ufake imali noma utshale imali kuma NGOs wenze ukuthi ke uwalungiselele ukuthi akwazi ukuthi abhekane nokugcwala kwalabo bantu nesimo esifanele nokuthi bakwazi ukuthi banakekele ngendlela efanele. Kanti ke futhi ukhulumeke ngendaba yokuthi ke noma ujaji uye wambuza ukuthi ke ingabe izincomo lezi njengoba ziqukethwe kulombiko ukuthi ziyasetshenziswa yini. Ijaji noma usolwazi uprofessor uphendule ngokuthi yebo ukuya ngokwazi kwami kuyasetshenziswa lokho ke engikuncomile ngoba ke sibe nemhlangano nezikhulu zomnyango sibheke ukuthi ke ingabe bayaqhubeka yini ngezinhlelo njengoba ke ziqukethwe kulezi zincomo ezikhona kulomculo. Kanti okunye futhi okukhulunywe ngakho ujaji ke uye wakhuluma ke ngodaba lokuphendula noma lokusebenza ngokusobala ukuthi ingabe lama NGO njengoba bekuthiwa ke wona ke wayengekho semthethweni njengoba ke labo bantu bake babuselwa yini basuswa kulezo zindawo labo abe basinda ke lapho yebo uprofessor uyavuma uthi yebo labo bantu bayababuyiselwa emuva bayabasuswa lapho kanti ke sebasezindaweni eziphephile soloko saqala lenqubo kuyabonakala ukuthi nokho isimo sesingconywana ngisho ukuthi abantu kufanele baqhubeke bashone kodwa ngithi ke soloko ke ngoMay kube khona ukwehla ngoba sekushone izigulane eziyisikhombisa kuphela masiqhathanisa nalesa sikhathi bokushona izigulane ngobuningi kodwa manje kuyakhomba ukuthi kusuka ngoMay kuze kube soku September manje kusho ukuthi ke uma ubheka ke lelo nani isikhombisa kusho ukuthi mhlambe kungeza ukuthi abantu ababili abashonile ngenyanga kuyakhomba ukuthi ke kuba khona impucuko ngendlela ke kuphathwe ngayo le project. Uye wabuzwa futhi ukuthi ke ingabe le project isesekhona yini ukhulume ukuthi le project ukuya ngaye ke igcine ivalo iye yahlakazwa le project kanti ke ungqongqoshe kazwe lonke wezempilo uye waya nakwezinye izifundazwe ayobheka ukuthi ingabe akukho yini ama project afana nalawo ukuze bakwazi ukuthi bagweme inkinga uma ingaba khona kufana na ngendlela kwenzeke ngakho la eGauteng. Manje ke uye wabuza ukuthi ingabe umazisile yini ke laba bakongamele OMO noma ke undunankulu nongqongqoshe uye wachaza ke lapho ke ukuthi ke kuye kwaba khona incwadi ebhaliwe kanti khona lencwadi lapha yana kule yamqulu la kubhalwe khona ukuthi ke sibhalele incwadi ke siphuma ehhovisi lika ndunankulu kodwa ke uma sesilandisa kahle sithola ukuthi undunankulu akazi lutho yena ngendaba efana naleyo kanti ngenkathi ebuzo uMEC ukuthi ke ingabe ke ungqongqoshe kazwe lonke yena uye wamthinta yini wamazisa ngalesi simo ukhulume ukuthi hayi mina naye cishe ke sinemsebenzi ngokufanayo unomsebenzi wakhe nami nginomsebenzi wakhe asikho isidingo sokuthi mina ngiye kuye ngiyomchazela ngalezi zinto. Kanti ke yizo ke izimpendulo engazithola kulokho kanti yilokho ke undunankulu noma usolwazi uprofessor akhuluma ngakho ukuthi uMEC yena umphendule kanjalo ukuthi asikho isidingo sokuthi ngiye kungqongqoshe kazwe lonke ngoba mina naye senza cishe imisebenzi efanayo unomsebenzi wakhe nami nginowami ngapha.
Ngiyakubonga mntakithi. No, we phethe kahle uyazwakala. Siyabonga, siyabonga. We're going to take the tea break now and we're going to resume at 12. Let me just say it again without imposing on you. normal protocols in hearings of this nature is to allow the presiding person to leave and to come in with some level of decorum. And I'm going to ask you to observe that, please. Let's not stampede out in a way that would become more difficult for us to gain access or to leave from here. As for the camera people, I've never seen somebody under my table like this. You've taken over, I don't know, 30, 40 pictures of me. I don't know how we're going to deal with this, but the normal rule is for cameras to be sensitive to what we are doing. We are actually dealing with quite a serious matter. So if you could also give us some break of sorts. We already have, I don't know, 6 cameras in here. I mean, these big ones, and many, many photographers. You're welcome, but just keep it in mind that you shouldn't be in our faces, please. Okay. We are adjourning. 12 o'clock, we resume.